but I keep hearing it, and then I hear my doorknob make a noise, like it's jiggling. So I immediately run downstairs, and I walk up to the front door, and I look out the window, and I see my ex-girlfriend's mom on my front porch with a screwdriver and a credit card trying to, like, pick my lock and open my door. So I immediately swing the door open, and she jumps back because she's scared. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I'm getting my daughter's credit card. I'm like, by breaking into my house, you fucking psychopath? And she goes, I know it's in here. And she gets real close to my face and starts yelling at me about how I was the worst thing to ever happen to her daughter, and how I was just such a scumbag liar. So I call up my ex on FaceTime, and she's like, what's going on, Austin? I'm like, your mom is at my house right now trying to break in. And I flipped the camera around on her mom, and she looked so upset. And my ex-girlfriend immediately starts apologizing. She's like, Austin, I'm so sorry. Like, please give the phone to my mom. Let me talk to her. So I hand my phone to my ex-girlfriend's mom, who's very angry on my front porch. And she's like, what do you want, honey? And my ex-girlfriend's like, Mom, you need to leave there right now. Leave Austin alone. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to leave. You have 1 minute to leave. If you're not off his porch in 1 minute, I'm calling the police on you. And she's like, I'm just trying to help you. And my ex is like, I don't need your help. Austin did nothing wrong. Leave him alone. I give him back the phone. And she hands me back my phone. And my ex-girlfriend's like, Austin, she's not well right now. Like, please just bear with me. I'm going to get her the right help she needs. Please just let me handle this and don't get the police involved tonight. And I was like, don't worry about it, I got you. Because I know that my ex-girlfriend was being genuine and that her mom was probably battling some problems. Because it's not normal to just go and try and break into somebody's house while they're home because of a lost credit card. That's just not something that usually happens. So I completely understood that there was a possibility that she was dealing with some mental problems. So yeah, anyway, after my ex-girlfriend's mom handed me back my phone, she immediately turned around and started walking back towards her car, got in her car and left. And I told my ex-girlfriend that she has nothing to worry about on my end. I wasn't going to call the police or anything. And yeah, overall, she went back home. My ex-girlfriend and her dad got a really good therapist involved, and she started going to therapy. And I think in the end, she was all good. But yeah, moral of this story is do not go and break into people's homes or accuse people of things, especially... Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time, in my opinion, is a pretty crazy one. Hope you guys enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do enjoy it. And let's jump right into it. So today's story time's topic is clout chasers, okay? This is about the biggest clout chaser I've ever met in my entire life. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So the story time takes place back in 2017, okay? The story time starts off as a very normal day, like every other story time on my channel does. I was laying in bed, just on my phone. Nice summer day, 2017, and one of my friends hits me up, and he's like, yo, Austin, I want to chill, let's hang out, come through. So without question, I'm like, yeah, for sure, like, let's kick it. So I go to my friend's house, I arrive to his house, really nothing was going on, honestly. We were kind of sitting in his basement playing Xbox, we weren't really doing a whole lot. And then he invites over this other friend of his, and I'd never met this friend before. And this friend brought his girlfriend, okay? So these two people that I'd never met before in my entire life were on their way to my friend's house. And I can't lie, I was a little bit nervous, okay? Because meeting somebody for the first time can sometimes be awkward for me. Like, once I know somebody, I'm pretty much fine. But, you know, meeting people for the first time can sometimes be a little bit awkward. So yeah, you know, I'm just sitting there thinking, and I asked my friend, I'm like, yo, are these people chill? He's like, yeah, man, they're super chill, like, you'll love them. I'm like, cool, how do you know him? And he goes on to explain that he met them at his school, that they're both really nice people, they're super down to earth, that I would just completely love them. He just kept hyping them up. He was like, yo, bro, like, you're gonna love them so much, like, you know me, like, I don't pick people that are bad, like, they're awesome. So, you know, I took his word for it. I thought, you know, my friend is really good at picking his friends, like, he's never steered me in the wrong direction before. He's a good dude, I'm sure he's telling the truth about these people, like, whatever, right? So fast forward to these two getting to his house, they walk in, and immediately, like, first thing I hear, this dude walks in and goes, alright, so who's the famous YouTuber? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, so this is how it's gonna go. And immediately I start, like, awkwardly laughing after he says that, and my friend starts awkwardly laughing as well. I don't think he expected him to say that. And he goes, yeah, man, like, your boy told me all about you, bro, like, your name's Austin, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, my name's Austin. He's like, yeah, I heard you, like, do YouTube and stuff. You a YouTuber? I'm like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. And he's like, cool, like, how many followers you got? And I'm like, over 1 million. And he's like, holy shit, that's a crazy amount. And I'm like, yeah, man, it is really crazy. Like, I'm super lucky for this. And he's like, yeah, bro, like, so how much you charge for a shout out? Like, this is the first thing this dude's saying to me. I'm like, I don't know, man, I don't really do stuff like that. He's like, all right, but, like, if you were to do something like that, like, how much would you charge? I'm like, bro, I don't do shout outs like that, so nothing right now, sorry. He's like, all right, I won't bother you anymore about it. I won't bother you. Like, you're all good, bro. I'm like, all right, thanks, dude. And then his girlfriend chimes in. She's like, oh, so you got like an Instagram and stuff? I'm like, yeah, I do. She's like, so how many followers you got? And at the time, I didn't even know how much I had. I was like, I'm not too sure, but I think over 100,000. She's like, holy shit, like, I only got 1,000 on my gram. Could you follow me? And once again, I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, this is the first thing these people are saying to me. So without hesitation, I just say, yeah, I'll follow you. Because I didn't want to say no and then start a problem with, like, this dude and his girlfriend. Like, I didn't want to deal with that. So I was like, yeah, I'll follow you. What's your IG? And then, of course, her boyfriend chimes in. He's like, yeah, man, follow me too. Follow me too. And I'm like, all right, I'll follow you too. What's your guys' Instagrams? And they tell me their Instagrams. I look them up. I follow them. They say thank you. And then my friend tells them, he's like, guys, like, Austin doesn't want to constantly talk about his social media. Like, drop it. Don't ask him for anything else. Like, leave him alone. And they're like, all right, we will. And they leave it at that, right? They stop asking me about what I do. They stop asking me favors. And they completely drop everything and just go to hanging out with us. And when they weren't asking me a million questions, they were actually really chill people. I didn't see why my friend thought they were super chill. But sadly, you never really know how someone's going to act when they're in a room with someone with over 1 million followers. You know what I mean? Like, some people are really chill about it and just are kind of like, okay, that's cool. And other people are like, yo, you got followers? Like, what is that like? Do you do shout-outs? Can I get a shout-out? Like, shit like that. Now, I wish I could say the story ends here and that was the worst of it, but holy shit, does it get a whole lot worse. Like, so much worse than what you could even possibly think, okay? So stick around for this part. So, fast forward like 30 minutes, I'm just sitting on the couch playing on my friend's Xbox. We're all just having a conversation about another friend of ours that we all mutually know. And I start getting super tired, like really exhausted. I pulled an all-nighter the night before, so I was just exhausted. And my friend could see it in my face, and he was like, yo, you look so tired, bro. Like, go lay down in the spare room. I'm like, you sure? He's like, yeah, man, like, for sure. There's clean sheets. Like, go sleep in it. I'm like, all right, dude. So I stand up, I set the controller down, I wave goodbye to the two friends that he invited over, and I tell them it was nice meeting them and have a good night, and they say the same, and I turn around and I walk into my friend's downstairs spare bedroom, and I lay down on the bed and put my phone down next to me on the table, and I just lay down in that bed and kind of think about how relaxing this is. Like, no one's bothering me, I'm laying in bed, I'm super tired, and after just laying in that bed for like 5 minutes thinking to myself, I end up falling asleep. And I wake up about 20 minutes later to the sound of voices. It's a pitch black room, and I'm waking up to the sound of voices right next to my ear whispering. 2 voices, to be specific. One sounds like a guy's voice, one sounds like a girl's. And I quickly jump out of bed and run over to the light switch and flick the light on because I'm so terrified. Like, I'm waking up in somebody else's room in the pitch black, hearing 2 voices that I've never heard before. Like, that's just so scary. So yeah, I jump out of bed, I run over to the light switch, I turn them on, and immediately I see these 2 people standing in the corner of the room holding my phone. It's the dude and his girlfriend that I just met on this night. And I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing? And he's like, oh, bro, like, my bad, like, I just kind of snuck in here real quick. I was just trying to see something. I'm like, what are you trying to see, bro? I'm sleeping in here. He's like, yeah, man, like, my bad, like, we'll leave. And he starts to walk out. And I'm like, no. And I block the door. I'm like, yo, what are you guys doing in here? Like, why are you whispering next to my head like that? What are you doing? And right as I say that, I hear a knock on the door, and I turn around and I open it, and it's my actual friend standing there. And he's like, yo, what are you guys doing in here? Like, what are you doing in Austin? And my friend has a bowl of popcorn in his hand, meaning he probably went upstairs to make popcorn, and these 2 stayed in the basement and decided to mess with me. So once again, I ask them, I'm like, yo, why are you guys down here while I'm trying to sleep with all the lights off, whispering next to my bed? Like, what are you guys doing in here? And then I remember that one of them's holding my phone, and I'm like, and also, why do you have my phone in your hand? And the girl steps up, and she's like, look, I'm sorry, I was giving myself a shout out on your Instagram. And I'm like completely shocked by this. Do you know how clout hungry you have to be to sneak into somebody's room while they're asleep with the lights off and steal their phone from next to them and try and log on to it to then give yourself a shout out on IG? Like, how desperate for followers can you possibly be? So that's exactly what I told her. I was like, how clout hungry do you have to be to try and steal my phone in the middle of the night and give yourself a shout out? Like, what? And the dude steps up, he's like, yo, don't talk to my girl like that, bro. I'm like, dude, fuck you and your girlfriend. Like, you both just came in here while I'm asleep in the middle of the night to try and take my phone and give yourselves shout-outs. Like, you're involved too, bro. Like,
Bruh.
you and your girl. And he's like, yeah, well, we know what's wrong. We're saying sorry, so accept it or don't. I'm like, I don't accept it. Get out of here. And my friend steps up. He's like, yo, get the fuck out of my house. And immediately they just do the walk of shame out of the room, walk out of the basement, and leave. And immediately my friend starts apologizing. He's like, yo, I didn't know they'd act like that. Like, I did not expect that. They never act like this. This is crazy. Like, I'm never hanging out with them again, bro. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it's all good, man. You didn't know. It's fine. So yeah, pretty much that's where that ended. I didn't hang out with those two people ever again. I did hang out with my friend, however. He didn't really understand that they'd act like that, so I don't fault him for that. But yeah, moral of this story is don't act like that couple did. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the story time. I thought this was a pretty crazy one. I hope you guys did as well. If you did enjoy the story time, please give it to guys. Or Luna. So today's story time, in my opinion, is a pretty crazy one, pretty good one. I hope you guys enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do. And yeah, today's story time is about how my crazy neighbor showed up at my house in the middle of the night, stalking me basically. And yeah, I'm not going to give away too many details. Let's just jump right into today's story time. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy it, and let's jump into this. So this story time takes place back in 2017, okay? Now the reason I thought about this story time is I might be moving again soon, not too sure. But thinking about moving had me thinking about all of the reasons I've moved before, and this being one of them. And yeah, I'm sure some of you watching that have been watching for a long time are probably like, Austin, you move more than anybody I know, like seriously. And yeah, that may be true, but I have my reasons. And yeah, today's story time is one of those reasons. So 2017, around this time, I was living in both LA and New York. I would go back and forth all the time. I've talked about that a lot. And I was paying rent for two places. I was renting an apartment in LA and a house in New York. So I was hanging out at my house in New York around this time, visiting home for a few weeks, hanging out with a few friends of mine. Now, most of my friends were staying at my house during this time, but of course, the one night that I'm alone, this had to happen. So this all starts off as a normal night. I'm alone in my house, playing some video games in my room, and the game that I was playing is CSGO. Now, anybody that plays CSGO probably knows how frustrating it can get. And yeah, I was at a comp game, and I was doing very, very, very bad, okay? Like, not one of my good comp games. And yeah, I just was losing, and I was really angry, and every time I would die in the game, I would yell. Now, the funny part about this is I wasn't queued up with any of my friends. I was literally playing CS by myself. I was solo queuing, so all of my teammates were random people that I'd never talked to before. So to them, I was just some random angry guy that every time he would die in the game would yell. And the funniest part is I wasn't even yelling words. I would die and just yell, ah, like just A-H-H, just scream. So after I get done with this comp game, I was not playing any more CS. I was frankly just too angry and bad. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to sit in bed and listen to some music. So as I lay down in bed after playing CS, you know, trying to unwind from that awful game I had, I hear a knock on my door. And at this point, I get a little bit nervous because it's 2 in the morning where I'm at. So the fact that somebody's knocking at my door at 2 in the morning when I didn't invite anybody over and I was completely home alone really terrified me. Like, I can't lie. I was extremely scared. So I get up and I like tiptoe out of my room trying to be really quiet. I'm like looking out all my windows trying to see my porch to see who's on my porch. And I finally get up to my kitchen window and I peek out the blinds of the kitchen and I see this random older guy standing on my porch. And I've never seen this guy before. So I immediately start thinking, I'm like, what the hell? Like, who's on my porch right now? Who is this guy? I've never seen this guy before. Now, if any of you ever have a random guy appear on your porch at 2 in the morning knocking on your door while you're home alone, don't answer it. That's just not something you answer. But me being stupid and thinking, okay, this guy looks pretty harmless, I answer the door. Like, without second thought, I just answer the door. Thinking like, okay, this guy's a little bit older, he's probably just a neighbor or something, I'll just answer the door. Now, I had no idea if he was for sure a neighbor or anything. For all I know, he could have been someone there to just like rip my head off and then eat my corpse. But no, I just answered the door thinking it was a harmless neighbor. So I answer my door and I make my voice deeper on purpose to try and make it sound like he woke me up, because I didn't want to look like some crazy person that was awake all night playing CSGO, even though that's exactly what I was. So I answer the door and I'm like, hey, like, what's up? What's going on? And he's like, hey man, sorry, I'm your neighbor next door. And when he said that, I was very relieved. Like, I can't lie, I was so relieved to hear that he was my neighbor and not some random guy just lurking in my neighborhood. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he goes, listen man, I heard screaming coming from next door. Can you please keep it down? I'm trying to sleep. Now that really confused me, because if I was somebody's neighbor, okay,
oh my,
screaming in their house, the first thing I'd do would not be to knock on their door and tell them to basically shut up. I would probably call the police because it sounds like someone might be in danger, and just make sure that everybody's okay. But no, he knocked on my door and he's like, hey man, can you keep it down? So I reply to him and I'm like, yeah man, I was playing a video game, I was kind of yelling, I'm sorry, I'll keep it down. Just trying to be as polite as I could. And he just looks me in my eyes with the most dead inside look, like just completely no expression whatsoever, and goes, okay, and turns around and just walks off my porch. Like, it was so creepy. Not like an, okay, thanks man, have a good night, or like, alright, thank you, just, okay, turns around and walks away. So I'm like, okay, so I just shut my door. I lock my door, I use both locks, and then I go to my room, I lock my window, I go to my sliding glass door, I lock that. I was very, very, very just scared, okay? Like, he was giving very strange, creepy energy, okay? So after that, I go back into my room, I jump back on my computer, and I join my friend's Discord call, and I was like, yo, you are never going to guess what happened. Now, this friend of mine lives like 2 miles away, so he's a hometown friend, and I was like, yo, this neighbor just came up to my door because I was yelling in CS, and he wasn't concerned about the fact that his neighbor was screaming in his house. He was just, trying to sleep and was complaining to me and gave off an insanely creepy vibe when I told him I would be quiet. And my friends who were in the Discord call, including my friend that lives like 2 miles away, was laughing about it. He was like, don't worry about him, bro. Like, he's probably not going to come back. It's just a noise complaint. Like, you're fine. You're probably just overreacting. Which he was completely right. I was thinking about it more. And I was like, I definitely am overreacting. Like, it was just someone giving a noise complaint. Like, he's not going to bother me again. Whatever. But boy, was I wrong, okay? Because no joke, an hour later, little did I know that he would be back. So I'm in this Discord call an hour later, talking to my friends, and of course, we're all playing CS again, but this time it was going a lot different. I was doing fairly okay, and also when I wasn't doing very good, I wasn't yelling and screaming because I knew that my neighbor would probably hear me, and also I wasn't worth getting that angry. I was just trying to stay as calm as I could and just enjoy the game. But then something insanely creepy happened, okay? So like 10 minutes after the game's over, I get up to go grab water, and I'm in my kitchen just grabbing water out of my fridge, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see a light flash on my porch. Through the blinds, a bright light flashing on my porch real quick. So I quickly look at my blinds and I peek through them, and I am greeted to an image that terrified me, okay? I just see a bright light and my neighbor's face, just face to face with me through the window, staring into my house, or attempting to stare into my house. And then our faces just meet, our eyes lock, and I immediately jump backwards because I was so terrified. So I run over to my front door and I open it up and I yell out. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I told you to keep it down. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I haven't made any loud noise whatsoever. Like, there's no way you can hear me at all. Like, you got the wrong house or something, man. Like, what are you doing out here? And he goes, no, I know what I heard. It came from this house. You're screaming again. I'm like, dude, no, I'm not. Like, on everything I love. First of all, even if I was screaming again, that doesn't warrant you to come onto my porch and peek through my windows with a flashlight. What are you doing? And he goes, I'm just seeing where you're at. And I'm like, all right, you have to get off my property right now. Like, seriously, right now. And I quickly shut my door and lock it because I did not trust this guy whatsoever. Like, the fact that he was trying to peek through my window without knocking and just, like, creep on me and be all stalker-like just made me real uncomfortable. So I shut the door and I lock it. And he slowly tries to walk over to my window again and peek through it. And I bang on the window with my fist as hard as I could to scare him away. And he immediately jumps back and walks off my porch. And after that, he walks back to his house. I watch him walk over there, and he goes into his house. And then, of course, being all creepy-like again, I see him start peeking out his window, his bedroom window that looks across to my bedroom window where my computer was. And he's just staring at me through his window, through his blinds, with his lights on. It was so creepy. I had my lights off, so he couldn't see me very well, at least I don't think he could. But it was still so weird to see him looking through his window like that, trying to find me. So anyway, after that happened, like an hour went by, and I was just being super careful. I kept checking out my window because I was so paranoid. And the whole rest of that night was pretty normal. There wasn't anything else from him. But the next morning is when things get a little bit weirder, okay? So the next morning, or afternoon I should say, I wake up at like 12 p.m., I get up, I get dressed, and I hear a knock on my door. So I immediately walk over to my door, and I peek out the window before opening it because I was still very on edge from the night before, and I see my neighbor walking down my driveway. So I open the door and I'm about to yell like, hey, what's up, because I thought he needed me, but when I open my door, a letter falls onto the ground on my porch. So I quickly grab the letter and I shut the door, and I open up the letter, and it's from my neighbor, and it says, Dear neighbor, I have my eye on you. Keep it down. And that was just creepy and confusing because, like I said, the night before, I was being so quiet after I yelled the first time because I was trying to be considerate of my neighbor and just not get very angry at the game and yell. And I was extremely quiet. I was only talking, I'd say at like this level. I was talking like this quiet. And you can't hear from across the yard like that. My house had pretty good insulation, so I know for a fact that he was not hearing me talk in my own room. That makes no sense. Now, the yelling was one thing, because I was really screaming. I was making a lot of noise, but my talking voice was way quieter. I don't think he heard that. I think he was just trying to look for a problem. Or there's a huge chance that it was never me he heard to begin with. Our neighbors on the other side of him were all in a frat, and they'd have parties like every night. So that's another thing that could have happened. But either way, after that, he kept being creepy. I'd see him walking around at night, like walking around the neighborhood with his flashlight, and he was just being super strange. Like every time I'd look out my window at nighttime and his light was on, I'd see him peeking out his window towards my house. It was so creepy that finally after like a few months, another weird thing happened with him, and then I just had to move out. It was just too creepy. So yeah, maybe I'll tell a part 2 to this story time or another creepy Yo, what's up guys, it's Austin here, or Luna. So in today's story time, I'm talking about something that I did when I was 15 years old. Now, let me start this off by saying, don't ever do this, ever. It's not okay, it was a really bad idea. As a matter of fact, don't do most of the things I talk about in this story time, and in many of my story times. So this story time takes place when I was 15, like I said, okay? This all started off as a normal day. I woke up super early for school. I got up, got ready for school, went to school, and for the most part, the day was pretty normal. But then I got to last period, okay? I got through the whole last period class, and I was finally done for the day with school. I was excited. I left class super quickly. I fast walked to my locker. I grabbed my stuff out of my locker, and I started heading towards my bus. And there was this kid that I went to school with. Let's just call him Chris, okay? Now, Chris was always super mean to almost everybody he knew in school. For whatever reason, I have no idea why he was so mean to everybody, but this dude was like the definition of like your classic high school bully type of guy. So I'm walking out of school, and I have all my stuff. I have some stuff in my hands as well. I had a binder in my hands and a book. Now, for some reason, there was a traffic cone on the side of the sidewalk outside of my school, and as I'm walking by it, I feel somebody push me, and I fly into this traffic cone and fall down and drop my books. And I look up, and sure enough, it's Chris. And I was like, yo, why would you do that, dude? Like, what the hell? He's like, it was funny. I want to see if you fall. So I got up and I threw my binder at him and I hit him in the shoulder, and he got super mad. He got up in my face and started threatening to fight me. And of course, with that, a bunch of people started forming around us because they thought there was about to be a fight. And then I hear a security guard yell like, hey, break it up. So after that, we all just split up and went to our buses. We didn't fight. Nothing else happened after that. I just grabbed my binder off the sidewalk and went to my bus. I get on the bus and I sit in the back seat. I'm just sitting there listening to music, and I was so mad. Like, I don't know, I felt like a fool, dude. I fell in front of everybody, like, people laughed at me. And that dude's just such a jerk, like, all the time. He was always so mean to everybody. So I'm like, alright, bro, like, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm just gonna go on with my day. I have no reason to get mad about this. Like, he's just a troll. I don't care. So I go home. I finish out the whole rest of that night, just, playing video games. I was working on some video stuff on my computer. Not really doing a whole lot that night. And the next day comes along, and I get up. I have the same routine. I get ready for school. I go to school. And I get through that entire day for the most part. And then I get to my second to last period class. And in that class, I sat right next to somebody that Chris really likes. It was this girl that he had a huge crush on. He asked her out before, and she said no. And even though she made it clear to him that they are just friends, anytime anybody ever talked to her, like, in any kind of flirtatious way, he would get really offended and, like, go start threatening them and get up in their face and stuff. He was just an angry individual, okay? So the teacher assigns people to pair up in groups and to work together. So me, this girl that Chris liked, and this other girl all paired up, and we were all friends. We had been friends for the entire year. Like, we all had that class together. We would always pair up when we had stuff to do. So we were just friends. And we're working together, and one of Chris's friends in the back of the room saw us working together, and he texted Chris a photo of us working together. And you're probably like, Austin, how do you know he did that? Well, after that class, I was walking to my next class, and sure enough, I feel somebody push me, and I don't fall this time, and I turn around, and not to my surprise, it was Chris. And I'm like, yo, why you pushing me again? He's like, bro, why are you hanging out with her, huh? Why are you hanging out with my girl? And he shows me a photo of me, this girl, and another girl all working together on this class project, like literally 20 minutes ago. So I'm like, alright, bro, first of all, she's not your girl. Like, don't go around saying that. Like, you guys are just friends. Second of all, me and her are friends. Like, me, her, and that other girl all work together all the time in that class, like on projects. So I don't know what you're mad about. And he's like, nah, bro, my boy told me you guys were flirting. Like, I know you were trying to flirt with her. Like, don't even try, man. You got no chance. So I got really mad because I wasn't trying to flirt with her. And also, once again, there was a crowd forming around us because they thought there was about to be a fight or something. And I got really angry because he was just making a fool of me. So I said something a little bit petty. I was like, yeah, I have no chance. Well, I know for a fact that you have no chance. Didn't you ask her out recently? And what'd she say? Oh yeah, no. And everybody just went silent, and he looked so angry. And that was kind of mean of me to say, okay? Like, I don't really like that I said that. It was pretty petty and just, stooping to his level. I would never recommend doing that, but I was just really upset at the time and young, and I didn't really have good self-control of my words at the moment. So yeah, after I say that, a lot of people went silent, and he did as well, and he got real red in the face, super angry. And of course, like a second later, he pushed me super hard. I almost fell over, and he started running towards me to try and throw punches at me and start a fight. But he didn't get very far. Like, the second he started running towards me to throw a punch, I see him just get launched backwards by his backpack. It was our history teacher. He pulled him by his backpack all the way back towards him. It was like, hey, go to class. And everybody broke up at that point, went to class, and so did I. And I went through the rest of that school day thinking that was the end of it. I'm like, whatever, like, Chris will probably continue to mess with me, but whatever, that's the end of that. And I get home, and I think that's it, right? I'm like, all right, nothing else can happen today. But sadly, I was wrong. I went on my computer, and I see that I have a notif on Facebook, and I click the notif, and it's him posting on my wall to all of my friends and all of my family a photo of me, well, not me, but my face, horribly photoshopped onto somebody in the hospital, and the post said, this is what you're gonna look like tomorrow when I'm done with you. So when he posted this, my entire family could see it, my friends could see it. I was getting text messages from people from my family, my friends. They were all worried, like saying, oh, am I gonna get into a fight tomorrow? Like, are you gonna fight Austin? What is this? So I messaged Chris, I'm like, yo, can you just delete that? Like, it's so petty to do that. And he's like, nah, bro, I want everyone to see what's about to happen tomorrow. I'm like, alright, dude, whatever, and I block him. And at this point, I was so over Chris. I was so
No!
So I decided to go on this website that I was a part of, where people's passwords get posted to it if they leak.
Blue screen, let's go. This game is perfect.
Password's been leaked. So me, being super angry at Chris and just fed up with it, I got really mad, and I went on my nerd shit, and I looked up his name and his phone number and his email and all this stuff. And I found his password on this website. It was leaked. So from that point on, I'm not proud to say this, but I hacked his Facebook, I got into his Facebook, I got into his Twitter, I got into his other Facebook account. He had two, and I deleted his